Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the NUSD Board of Trustees. We want to note that the meeting is being broadcast on the NUSD YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sounds from those attending the meeting. If you would like to make public comment on any item on agenda or not on agenda, please see the table to the side for a comment card. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The board did meet in closed session this evening. Trustee Novato will report out.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items: conference with legal counsel, settlement of pending litigation. On May 20, 2025, a majority of the board in closed session voted to approve a settlement agreement with the parent guardian of student reference number 2024-25-2005, who asserted special education claims against the district. The board approved reimbursement for services in exchange for releases and waiver of claim against the district.
Trustee Novato made a motion to approve the settlement agreement. Trustee Gasson seconded the motion. We will now have a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Novato.
Aye.
Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you.
Confidential student matters, information only. Public employee discipline, dismissal, release, information only. Conference with labor negotiators Joshua Braff, Chief Financial Officer, and Francesca Wickham, Executive Director, Human Resources, an employees organization, Novato Federation of Teachers, NFT, information only. Conference with labor negotiators Joshua Braff, Chief Financial Officer, and Francesca Wickham, Executive Director, Human Resources and Employees Organization, California School Employee Association, CSEA, information only.
I'm now going to ask for an approval of the agenda with the caveat that we reorder and allow for item 11A to be brought to the agenda at the time in which the students involved are present. Does anyone like to make that motion? Trustee Alexander, thank you. And a second. Trustee Pickus, thank you. All in favor? 7 trustees plus 2 students, thank you. Next is consent agenda. Is there any item that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Trustee Pickus.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about consent agenda item D.
Would you like to pull it and approve as without it, or would you like to just ask your question and then
Yeah,
add
just
it included?
really quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
So can we
Yeah.
ask that question now?
Sure.
So this is a grant, and I believe it's is a California grant, not a federal grant. Is that correct? It's the IDEA, which I thought was a federal piece, but I think the language in there was
It comes through the
California.
state of California.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and it's a typical amount and a grant that we get every year specifically for mental health services.
Right.
It used to go through the county, but now it's coming directly to the districts.
Got it.
and
It
then
just stood out to me
reimbursed.
because our last conversation here was talking about like mental health and wellness supports from the federal level disappearing. I suppose that we'll find out next year, or do we anticipate that this will continue if it's been here in the past? Do we have any sense of
We don't
that
have any
particular
sense that this is going to change. And this is specific to students who have a specialized counseling program within their IEP.
Got it.
It's called
Okay.
ERMS counseling, correct?
Correct. Okay, great. Thanks. Just putting it in some context of our previous conversations.
Okay.
So, thank you. Thanks, John.
Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda or pull any other items for conversation or later approval?
I will move for approval.
Thank you, Trustee Pickus. We have a second by Trustee Gasson. Thank you. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, 7 trustees plus 2 students, thank you. We will now go to announcements, and we will start with our high school students.
Hi everybody, how's it been? Okay, so at San Marin, we just finished AP testing. We are just doing the makeups this week, so everybody is very happy. We also have an upcoming Spirit Week next week with Monday, no school. Tuesday is USA Day. Wednesday is College Day. Thursday is Dogs Out. And Friday is Class Colors, because we will have our last rally, which will be an outdoor rally. We're bringing that back from 4 years ago for Friday, May 30th. Which will be followed by an event called Joy Fest, where we will kind of be doing a field day, so we're all very excited about that as well. Also, last Saturday, we had our senior prom at the Westin St. Francis. It was on the 32nd floor, and it had a 360-degree view of the city, which everybody was really excited about and had a great time. For athletics, our MCAL champion San Marin softball team hosts Vintage High School tonight at 6:30 in NCS first round playoffs. Our MCAL regular season championships for San Marin baseball team host Novato High tomorrow at 5 p.m. in the NCS first round of playoffs. And 6 track and field athletes have qualified for the NCS Meet of Champions this week at Dublin High School.
Good evening, everyone. Trustees, Dr. Smith, I hope you all are doing well. I have a packed report with a lot of exciting updates, so we'll just go right in. So first off, open house was last Thursday. It was a huge success, and a lot of teachers and parents came out to see the next classes and view everything coming up for next year. And then, of course, we've officially wrapped up AP exams with a few makeups left. A big thank you to everyone who supported proctoring and ensuring everything ran smoothly. From the ASB News, we have our grad speech panel tomorrow. So our seniors have submitted their English and Spanish graduation speeches, and we'll be hearing them tomorrow. And I'm also working on the graduation program with our admin and staff, so I'm super excited for June 12th. It's coming up fast. Nick the Greek Dine and Donate tomorrow, May 21st, is our freshman fundraiser. So come out and support our freshman class and enjoy some good food. Prom tickets are on sale this week for $65. It's happening next Saturday, May 31st at Lake Chalet from 8 p.m. to midnight. Huge shout out to the PTSA for donating a bus to help our students get there, and all of our staff and teacher chaperones who will be volunteering their time. Next week is our end of the year Summer Spirit Week, and to start it off on Tuesday, we have Jersey versus Jersey Shore Day, so wearing your jerseys or just wearing your best Jersey Shore look. Wednesday is Beach Day, and then Thursday is White Lies Day, and then Friday is Class Colors Day, and it's also another rally day. It's our last rally, and it'll be filled with super fun games and, of course, performances by cheer and MSA dance. And so be sure to check out the Instagram for some fun clips of the event. And then there's also a deadline for the first order of Spirit merch. You can find the link on our Instagram or the What's the Buzz email. And now here's a fun one coming back, Splash a Senior. After a huge success last year, almost over $500 that we made, we're bringing it back. So on Wednesday, May 28th at lunch, students and teachers can pay $5 to Splash a Senior with a bucket of water. It's a really amazing fundraiser, and props to all the seniors that are volunteering themselves to get splashed this year. NHS Senior Awards Night will be on May 28th at 6 p.m. We'll be celebrating our seniors and presenting their cords with different student awards. There's also a PTSA meeting at 7 p.m. next week. From athletics, our athletic info night for incoming 9th graders and all the new Hornet athletes went really well. We're so excited to welcome all the new faces into the Hornet family. Athletic Appreciation Night is this Thursday at 6 p.m. in the CFA. All teams and athletes from every season will be recognized and appreciated. It's going to be a fantastic celebration. And then we also have our student versus staff softball game happening at lunch this Thursday. There will be free pizza, popsicles, and red vines for students to enjoy. And so our games of the week, we had the first round of NCS playoffs for baseball against, at San Marin. So that'll be tomorrow at 5 p.m. And then we've got 3 of our athletes headed to the Meet of Champions this week for track and field: Audrey Kobayashi, Emmy Irving, and Ben De Palma. And last week, Leo Hernandez competed in the state diving championships and finished as one of the top 18 divers in California. So super props to that. On MSA News, we have a rock band night at Sweetwater on May 22nd. Grab a bite to eat and enjoy some amazing music. The Theater Senior Showcase is coming up on May 23rd at the PAC, so make sure to catch that fantastic show. MSA's Art Fest is on May 27th, 28th, and 29th with the reception and awards, so come out and enjoy some amazing student art. The instrumental concert is at 7 p.m. on May 29th, and the vocal music concert will be on May 30th at 7 p.m. next week. Also, a huge shout out to MSA Theater. They were ranked in the top 5 out of 100 NorCal theater programs, and Vinny Stallone was nominated as one of the top 5 leading actors. That's a huge deal, and we're incredibly proud of him. From the MCP news, there is an MCP poster session on Friday, May 23rd in room 4005 from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. It's a chance for MCP students to showcase their scientific research projects, and it's going to be a great opportunity to engage with some of their amazing student work. From Link Crew, the applications for Link Crew are all done, and we're in the process of finalizing our Link leaders who will be helping to usher in all of our incoming freshmen. Exciting times for class of 2029. And then from the Wellness Hub, a big thank you to everyone who made the Wellness Fair on May 7th a success. We had amazing organizations like Find Your Way, the Novato Teen Clinic, Buckaloo out there, and it was a great event organized by our SWAP students and wellness staff. From Avid, the Avid Senior Celebration will be held at the CFA from 8:30 to 10 a.m., I believe, next week, and it's going to be a fun and heartfelt moment as we celebrate Avid seniors. They'll even have their cardboard confessional where they reflect on their journey from freshman year to now. It's going to be a really cute and touching moment. And then finally, definitely looking forward to the 3-day weekend coming up, and I hope everyone gets some well-deserved rest and relaxation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I had the opportunity over the past couple of weeks to do some site visits, was very, very delighted to visit both San Jose and Pleasant Valley, and then on Saturday dropped by Olive. Thank you so much for all of the teaching and learning and the fun that goes into the sites, the fairs, the gatherings, and really, really loved connecting with some of the parents at Olive. So thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I also had the chance to visit some sites. Just shout out to San Jose Middle School team for welcoming us, and Olive as well. Had some really great conversations around wellness centers and how we're gathering data to figure out what kind of wellness supports that we need. And a really neat conversation at Olive specifically around support structures and how we're identifying students who need extra supports and the kind of creative thinking they're doing to provide extra reading support and math support for kids who need those things. So, we talk about that. It was really cool to see how they're putting it into practice. Also had the chance to visit and watch some senior presentations at Marin Oaks, which was so exciting. These seniors really put a lot of work. I could tell they were so nervous, but they did such a great job. So thank you for including me there. And then School Fuels, the tour of Novato was so fun. I think I had this level of enthusiasm last year. If you haven't participated, it's like my daughter's favorite day of the year. She got to control the big robot that Maddie was helping to run. And it was just, the whole community comes out. It's such a fun day. So huge thank you to all of the School Fuel team who put that on.
I as well did the same site visits at San Jose and Olive, and I'll have to say, for the whole year, the site visits have been really, really good. Going into the classroom, really seeing the work being done, the teaching and learning happening. So thank you to each of our teachers and staff for making that successful. I did do a lot of my committees that I'm assigned to. I did Efficiency and Effectiveness Committee, JLAC, Northburn Council PTA, and the Golden Bell Committee. And the Golden Bell Awards is this Thursday. Hope to see a lot of you there. I was able to get to Hamilton's Science Night, Novato High Open House. I did a tour of Novato. I volunteered, registration, check-in, and we had a community partner and volunteer celebration here in the district office last week, which was, I think, pretty well attended, and I hope we continue to do that. And modeling the way, and then the last thing I did was the LCAP committee meeting last night, which was the last meeting of the year.
So I think I mentioned last week that I usually on Tuesdays I think back about what I've done the last couple of weeks since the last board meeting, and it was funny because I kept thinking the word that came to mind was thankful, and then when I looked at my calendar as I sat down, I remember it started with the gratitude coffee, and that was just so nice, and I thought, oh, maybe that was why it was like just feels like a great time to be thankful for so many different things. And, especially our community partners like School Fuel and the great work they did with the tour of Novato, and North Marin Council PTA, hearing them close out the year, people that are stepping into the new roles at the school sites. It's just really exciting, and I'm grateful for all the work that they all do. I was also thankful that our community supported the bond fund a couple of years ago. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I had been fostering 2 puppies, and as part of that process, I was going through different events in different locations. And on Saturday, I ended up at a high school in the East Bay, which I don't want to exactly say which one it was, but I don't know the East Bay at all. And I got stuck with the old dog that nobody wanted, and I was walking around their campus at this high school, and it was pretty pathetic. It had weeds and dead plants, and the stuff around the windows was all moldy, and I was sad. And I was so thankful that our schools have been getting these upgrades, and then going to Olive to visit, and the campus is beautiful, and the work that the parents and community have done. I just reflected and thought, it's so nice what we have here, and I was very thankful. Going to the open house at Novato High School, even though my kids are there, it was just really warm and welcoming this year. So I was thankful for the staff and everyone who put that event on. And then JLAC is another area we met, and I've been co-chair this year, and we've been talking about how in these times, it's nice that we already have that network and that connection to our representatives at the state level, so that when we have questions or we want to advocate, we have that resource and the information that they provide to us. And then I just reflected on the fact that I didn't know until earlier today it was a 3-day weekend coming, so I'm super thankful for that.
Just one thing, I had the opportunity to participate in the tour of Novato. I want to say thank you to School Fuel for organizing it. I got to ride in it, had some fun with that, and it's a fantastic event that's been going on for, I want to say, are we into 20-something years? I think I have a T-shirt from the very first time. Anyway, it's changed a lot, but I just want to really say thank you to the School Fuel folks for keeping that going and doing all the work they do.
Good evening. I also attended tour of Novato, the community volunteer gratitude. Thank you to Ellen for organizing that. We had a lot of pastries and love talking to our community partners and see the projects that they're doing at our school sites, like 10,000 Degrees. Got a chance to chat with them. So that was really nice. Attended DLAC meeting. It was a really productive meeting, a lot of great feedback from our parents. So I want to give a shout out to Tanya and Dr. Sinyard for taking the feedback and trying to figure out incorporating it in our plans. But my favorite event was doing a meet your board member and student trustee at Novato High School. So we gave ice cream and talked to a few of our students to let them know who we are, what do we do. And I look forward to doing that at San Marin next week, and hopefully continue that next school year, so that way students know that we're here, and introduce them to civic engagement if they haven't been exposed to it. So I think it's super important that we teach our young ones how to be active. But yeah, thank you.
I, along with a few other board members, have been involved in the Grand Jury Report Response Subcommittee. We've met a few times. I had a wonderful site visit at PV and got the pleasure of hearing from a teacher about some of the reading pilots they've been doing, and that was really fascinating to hear about and to see in action. Volunteer appreciation was wonderful, modeling the way. San Marin softball, and I want to highlight an event that the city is putting on in conjunction with the district. It's a social media safety workshop, and this is on 5/28 at 6 o'clock at Town Hall. It will have lots of useful information about online safety for kids and young adults, and there will be Tommy Salsa dinner, so very exciting, and please spread the word.
All right. I usually say ditto, 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 ditto. So I'm not going to repeat anything that was already said, except for, or just a couple extra things. We have the Rotary of Novato luncheon this Friday, where we recognize a teacher from each school site. And then a shout out, it is Classified Appreciation Week, specifically, even though feels like Staff Appreciation Month. It is specific to classified this week. So thank you to our classified staff. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, so keeping that in mind always. I got to attend a couple of wonderful community events. On Friday night, the Community Action Marin's new building ribbon cutting and fundraising event, so meaningful and heartfelt and important. And then the North Marin Community Service, who is also an incredible partner in terms of combining together our services to provide for our families. So that was on Saturday. We welcome everybody to a June 3rd special board meeting. So that's 2 weeks from today. We will be honoring our student trustees and some MCAL athletes of the year from school sites. We will retirees and anniversary pin winners or honorees for the number of years that they've served in our district. That's staff. So, and then finally, there's a PBE proficiency-based education informational night specifically for middle school parents on Thursday. This Thursday at 6 o'clock on Zoom, and it's going to be really the introduction to standards-based grading and what that's going to look like for what they can expect as parents and in the future for next year. So we're starting to set that up.
Okay, our next item is item 10 on agenda, non-agenda public comment. We have one commenter. We're glad to have public comment on any item not on agenda. 3 minutes is allowed for each commenter. However, we are not allowed to respond to these comments, nor are we able to speak about employee or student privacy issues. The board directs the appropriate staff member to respond to all commenters within 2 business days following the board meeting. Our commenter this evening is Eric Brentner? Bretner. Your timekeeping is over there.
Thank you. I'm coming here. I have a child who's in Novato, but going through College of Marin. He's aging out this year, but I think because the district's following California Ed Code very specifically, I think there's a little bit of a failure for students. So he turns 22 in September, but because when the district's fiscal year ends, unless I can get the Golden Gate Regional Center to provide him services before they're legally responsible to take over services for him, he would have almost 3 months without services. So my son is severely autistic. He's been in special education and receiving therapy since age 3. And so, I'm fortunate that I have a good job and my wife doesn't work, but because of the way the district is following the Ed Code and leaving a gap where students who graduate are going to have potentially services months without services, other families who are not in as good of economic situation could be faced with having a child with special ed needs that are pretty severe, that they have no services for months on end. And you could have a parent who has to quit a job or take a leave of absence, and that could be a big economic hardship on them. And so I would just really encourage the district to really look at that. I tried to reach out to the district staff, MCOE staff, and to the superintendent's office without any what I would consider reasonable resolution. And so I just think, when I think about other parents who don't have the resources that I do, they could be really harmed, or their children could be really harmed because they're really sticking to the Ed Code. When you think about it, a child with special ed, the class is already there, the teacher is already there. Really, it'd only be the incremental cost would be is if they had to have another aide be added to the classroom because the student was on for a few months of services. And so I think the cost is really, to the district, might not be very much incrementally, but to a family who's struggling to provide for their family, their rent and all that, if they had to quit their job, they could be really severely impacted. if they had to, find a different outcome for 3 months. And so I think the district would be well served to serve those parents in a way that might be morally right, might be not following the code. But I heard in your closed session you had a settlement with the special ed, so it also might avoid settlements in the future where parents feel like they have no recourse but to seek legal action against the district. So might be money well spent. So I see my time is up, but I just wanted to share that with the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go to item 11B, the solar panel performance report with NV5. Joshua Braff will bring us this report.
You're just staring at me. So, what's the button to make this one? Control 5 or something like that. What's the way to make this big again? Control L. There we go. Thank you. Normally I don't do PDFs. I do the other one. So thank you. I was just looking through to see if David was here yet, but I don't think so. That's okay. So, good evening, trustees. We're talking tonight about the solar report that was done by NV5, and a representative from NV5, David Willard, was going to be here, but he may have gotten stuck. I didn't hear from him, so hopefully everything's okay. But we are going to look at the report that they produced for us. This is sort of a preliminary report. We'll get into that in a second. So the idea is that they looked through a full year of data that we were able to provide for them, which had the billing estimates, the usage, and some key points for this was that, number one, good news. We do see that we are having a savings by utilizing solar to the tune of around $475,000 per year. That was last year. However, bad news is that the production is about 17% below what was expected. And that's also has to do with, it brings up some questions about the operations and maintenance work that Tesla is supposed to provide on this contract. The solar panels that we have at most of our sites, all the solar panels that we have within the district, but we do not have solar panels at all of our sites, are Tesla solar panels. I believe at the time they were still under Solar City, but Solar City, purchased by Tesla, rolled into one company. They're now Tesla solar panels. And one of the things that was really interesting that we'll show in a slide later to dive into for a second is that at Rancho, we actually found that there could be a potential discrepancy in billing. So it was definitely, I think the initial takeaway from this is that it was definitely worth our time to ask these questions. So the energy production, makes a curve that we expect to see, right? During the summer months when it's sunny and we get 14, 15, 16 hours of sun, we're going to produce more solar energy. During the winter months where we only have 9, 10 hours of sun and half of the time it's rainy and cloudy, we produce less. The idea, though, is that gray line is the anticipated production. And so that is what was called the weather-adjusted model to say this is what we would expect to see here. However, our bars of what we actually produce slightly less, to the tune of around 17%, as said on the slide. And if we look at it in reverse, we're producing 83% of what we expect. So not a single one of the sites is producing at the level that we would expect, but we also see this big giant negative 49% for Rancho. And Rancho had an outage in April of 2024 through the end of the report, which was 7/2024, so July 2024. So for 3 months, there was an outage at Rancho. Unfortunately, and I'll talk about this for just a second here, we've not been able to get a lot of information out of Tesla. So it's been difficult to find either maintenance records, cleaning records, any records that tell us what happened during that time. The reason why we think that there might be a billing discrepancy is that really during that time, the production was listed as 0. So it dropped completely. And we still got billed for usage of it during that time, usage of the solar panels during that time. So here is a breakdown of our total energy costs. So $387,000 is what was our electric bill for PG&E. $279,000 is the PPA cost. Think of it as the contract costs that go to Tesla for the solar panels themselves. And then $475,300 is what we would have paid, including plus $279 is what we would have paid if we had just done PG&E energy exclusively. So Tesla plus savings, right? We paid $387 to PG&E and saved $475,300. So even with them not working at full capacity, we're still saving money. But we could also see that if they were working at full capacity and we didn't have ranchos go offline for 3 months, potentially longer, that savings would be greater. I didn't do that. And then, so here is the consumption. So 64% of our energy is coming out of the solar panels, and 36% is utility. So we are predominantly doing solar energy as well when we're talking about the consumption at the 10 sites where we do have solar panels. And there was a question that was asked earlier of why don't we have solar panels at every site? Number one, we are looking through other grants and opportunities of how we could get solar panels that we own to be put in at other sites. We wouldn't want to go into another contract like this if we don't have to, and if there's other opportunities. So number one, we are looking into that. But number two, it's also at some sites it may end up just not being feasible. For the amount of space that we would need to put in solar panels, you need open space without a treetop canopy. And if we think of places like Lou Sutton, that is a lot of tree cover, the only place would be on the play field. Well, then if you actually look at Rancho, we have a spot where the solar panels are halfway over some grass field and halfway over some cement. Where they are on that grass field, there's a lot of mud. And that's because, of course, the sun can't get to the grass to make the grass grow, and then you end up with a big muddy patch. So the answer becomes more concrete. Well, that takes away playfield from kids. So we have to weigh the pros and cons, right? And so while we would like to have solar everywhere, it might not be feasible for what the level that we would need it to actually make it make sense for us. So then what we also discussed with NV5, the second half of this contract is to go into the W Regis, or I don't know if it's Will Regis, but the Regis system, where we are able to actually sell our renewable energy credits and get basically a discount credit back for what we are able to create. So we're starting to work on that piece of it now. The study was going to go first. We've signed up through the Regis system. We've got our account set up. We've done all that. Now we just have to sort of like learn how to report and do all that pieces, and that will be going live through, now on. So the action items that we have, as one of the bullet points has said, is that we will be talking about the renewable energy credit system and what that's going to look like going forward. And then also NV5 is continuing to try to work with Tesla. I just got a phone call from Tesla a couple of hours ago. Their office was closed when I called them back, but we're going to discuss with them trying to get some of this information. So it's nice to even have somebody contact us back. So that we need to figure out what that billing error was at Rancho, why they were charging us and it wasn't producing? And then also, why was it not producing? There's two questions there. So like, what are the catches? Because then that makes us start to question all the billing, right? So we need backup evidence and information. And then also we need to be able to have a more real-time touch point of what's going on with our solar systems and not have to do year-long look-backs to get to that point. All right, and then I have any questions? And then David? Yes, there's David. He's over there by John. And so if you have any questions specifically about like NV5's work, or if you wanted more in-depth questions about solar, I'm sure David can answer these questions for you.
Oh, my microphone's been on. My question that I wrote just across the top is, what is the recourse? It feels like, or at least the sense, and thank you for presenting the information, but when I was reading it, the sense that I got was that Tesla's not been really easy to work with, and that we just did a lot of work that was helpful, but like, what's the recourse if they don't respond or they're not recognizing? I mean, I feel like we're sort of at their mercy, or is that not a good interpretation?
Well, it depends on what the cost benefit is there, right? I think that when we get down to the end of it, it spans it from, hey, this doesn't really seem like it's going to cost us much money, so we're just going to like kind of let it go and take the benefit that we are getting, to legal action to hold them accountable to the contracts that they have. But that really depends on what that benefit is. Like, we don't want to spend $60,000 suing them to get $10,000 back, right? So we need more information, and we have been able to get some information, and there has been some trains that we've been able to go on and get to people who were helpful. It just seems like as an organization, there's a lot of things set up to sort of like just mire you down in like mud. Make an account on our website. Okay, no problem. You go and make an account, and the website is just, the page is blank. There's nothing on it. So why did I make an account? So it's that kind of stuff. So it just feels like you're just going around in circles with them. So really the answer is that when we get a little farther and we find out what we may be missing, that's where we can judge what our next steps are.
And what is the term, since they're not ours? Is there a term on the panels or length of use?
I'm actually not sure. David, did you find that out in your research? It is 20 years.
So we're probably we're at least 5 or more years in, right?
More than 5 years. Yeah.
2018 was the first.
2018 is when they came online.
Okay, thank you.
Were you here you've been with us for a while, correct?
I was here
when it all started.
When it all started,
with
we
Jim
conducted
Hogaboom.
feasibility for you, helped run the RFP, and then helped manage
Right.
the installation.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have not been involved since.
Right.
They were
The board had a report in 2000, sorry, Julie, I'm going to apologize. In 2019, did you present that report, do you recall?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was from, I think, Sage Renewable. It was
Yeah.
a 1-year update.
Yeah, it was one of our staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What was my question now? So I would like to see NV5 continue to do the work that you requested, Josh, the action item. Consider a budget amendment to continue pursuing these issues with Tesla. So if you need their support in order to get Tesla to get some answers, I would really like to see that.
It's on all fronts.
Yeah. Okay. What was my other? I guess that was it. The other thing was that when we first started this, I don't know if you were, was like $6 million that we were going to save over the life of this. Do we foresee that even happening? Have you thought about that at all, or?
I mean, if we're looking at like where it is right now, simple math says it's about 5 million.
Yeah.
But I think that's also like, if we're looking at, and there could be a potential 20% upswing on this, that 6 million could be the right number there. But that does mean that we have to get to that extra 17 to 20% soon, right? If we take 4 years to get to it, well, no.
Yeah.
It's going to be closer to the 5 million.
Okay. All right. Thank you for doing that work and bringing.
Two questions. One, it's probably a quick answer. At the end of 20 years, what happens? We keep them and we just run them?
You get 3 options per the contract. So one option is to renew for a 5-year term. You have, I think, 3 renewal options for 5-year terms each with Tesla. The other option is to purchase them at that time, and the IRS states that it has to be purchased for the fair market value of the system or the purchase price that's in the contract, whichever is higher. Typically, it's going to be the fair market value. So at that time, you could purchase them and then own and operate them, for as long as they're viable. The third option is that you can choose not to renew, not to purchase, and Tesla is responsible to come and remove the systems and return to the site to pre-system
So
conditions.
it sounds like if you do option 3, there's a whole lot of negotiation there because they do not want to do that.
They do not want to do that.
Yeah, so, okay. So we might do option 3. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to negotiate in public. The other question is, so the 17% gap that we're seeing, I take it you probably are evaluating a number of different projects like this. Are you seeing a fair amount of that? In other
Depends
projects?
on the developer. So a lot of projects that were developed by Solar City and
Well, let's just talk about Solar City,
Solar
Tesla in
City,
particular.
Tesla,
Yeah.
very similar. We're seeing that, and they were performing the projects that we have tracked consistently, because there was a period where we did not track this project.
Right.
But the projects that we've tracked consistently, they were performing at or near expectations up until a couple years ago, and things have dropped off. I think they've reduced their operations and maintenance staff quite a bit, so they have fewer people paying attention and monitoring and maintaining these systems, and they also are not performing the maintenance as often from what we're seeing. Here we're a little bit behind closed doors because we haven't been tracking the
Right, so we
products the
might have
entire
been tracking initially, we just don't know. And we might be in the same boat as everybody else, or we might have been that way the whole time, we don't know. And without going too far in the rabbit hole, can you just high-level explanation of what kind of maintenance they can do to achieve better results, and/or if they're better staffed, what would that have done? Because I just envision they're there, they just work.
Yeah.
But I'm probably missing something.
Typically, the panels themselves are there and they work. What fails are the inverters, and there's several inverters at each of these sites. Those need to be replaced on an 8 to 12 year cycle usually.
Okay.
And that's what will happen. That's your weakest link of failure is the inverter. The Tesla is on the hook to
Right. It's their
maintain that
system.
and replace it.
Right.
And it seems like at Rancho, maybe that wasn't happening. And besides inverters, just module cleaning, soiling can really build up and reduce the production.
And they're responsible for cleaning them as well?
They are, yeah.
Okay. That's not like my home one. I have the exact
No.
same thing at home, but I have to clean them myself. So,
Yep.
last question is, so we get 20 years out, and even now, the efficiency of panels is just, a factor of, who knows, a lot. Is that, I mean, compared to where the efficiency of these panels when they first came out, how much more productive are the panels if they were to be doing it today?
Today, we're probably about 5 or 6 points higher efficiency-wise than when we were in 2017, 18, when these were
5 or
being-
6 points, meaning
5 or 6%
percent?
for the highest efficiency
Okay,
modules.
okay. So it's not an order of magnitude?
No,
Okay,
it's not
okay.
exponential.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not really a big component of what we're seeing,
Okay.
for newer
It's
systems.
the maintenance side. Okay.
Yep.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Great.
Can you tell us what the life of these panels is?
So they're warranted to produce at least 80% of their original power levels after 25 years. That's the warranty on them. I've seen modules that are fully functional and producing energy after 40 years. They, as long as they're not physically damaged and don't have any defects, they'll keep producing energy, but they have a decline over the life of the product. Yeah.
Sorry, that just made me think of something then. So even just with that, if we've only had them for not even half of whatever the life term is, and they're already almost at that point, if it's 83%, right?
I don't think it's the modules that are not producing. I think it's soiling. I think it's the
Right,
inverters that are out.
Right, no, I understand that, but I just think when I look for arguments and like how do you use a foundation for, getting what you want, I mean, that right there is a strong point that if they should be performing and this isn't, and that's an argument that you go and say, look, this is the metric that we have, that this is what we're getting. So right from the get-go, you've got a place to argue from, I would say. And actually even, I don't know, I mean, it seems like they're not working very well with us right now, but a place that we can say we need to really get in front of you and say this is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
And you do have a performance guarantee that they're supposed to honor. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
I'll just stay up here too for your SIPSA.
Okay, we're gonna go to item 12A. Dr. Julie Sinyard will be presenting the approval of the 25-26 school plans for student achievement, or SIPSA, for all NUSD sites.
Thank you. All right, maybe? Okay, here we go. Good evening, members of the board, student representatives, and Dr. Smith. SIPSAs, or the school site plans for student achievement. I have three wonderful principals who are going to help me with this presentation this evening. We are going to start with Principal Cortez from Novato High School, and then followed by Principal McEachern from San Jose Middle School. And then finally, Principal Chima from Loma Verde will complete our process. And tonight, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the SIPSAs and how the work of the SIPSAs has been aligned to the local control and accountability plan. And our principals have worked closely with their school site councils and their staff to really develop plans for the 25-26 school year that fall into these three areas, again, that are aligned with the LCAP. We call them our little buckets. Our first bucket is academic success. Our second bucket is about student wellness, mental health, emotional well-being. And our third bucket is for engagement, family engagement, and belonging. And so folks have done a really wonderful job truly trying to align these goals. And then what you're going to start hearing and seeing is a lot of similarities amongst our school sites. So again, trying to create all of our plans, whether it's our SIPSA, our LCAP, our English learner plan, our dual language immersion plan, and have a lot of similarities and coherence among all of these plans. And so I would love to bring up Principal Cortez to kind of talk about the high school goals. And so Michelle will be representing Marin Oaks and San Marin as well, and discuss a lot of the similarities and through lines.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So goal 1 about academic success is very appropriate for all three of our high schools to be focused on. And many of the strategies that we use are very similar from site to site. So this one, the way it's written might be a little bit different at each site, but San Marin's goal 1, to ensure all students achieve equitable academic success, particularly addressing disparities among historically underserved groups. That is their goal. Ours looks very, very similar. And the strategies that we will use to accomplish that goal are also very similar. As you know, all of the schools are participating in our CEL learning walks, which create a culture of feedback. And it's lovely because it's not just at a particular school site, but across school sites as we view each other's practices and see how we use the collective wisdom of sites to get better together. Instructional leadership teams, which we're doing some really nice work norming across all the sites this year. The academic conferencing and data cycles, leveraging our TOSAs and our EL specialists, incredibly important with the larger numbers of EL students, especially at Novato High, but also at San Marin. Looking at our DNF rates and making sure that we audit and do something about it. So really using those more formative grading periods to look at where kids are at and doing something about it, really supporting kids before the final semester grades. I know that's happening at all 3 sites. Leveraging our specialized programs, which are phenomenal at all of our sites and really give kids a reason to want to come to school and succeed in many different ways. Using proficiency-based education practices and leveraging our partners like 10,000 Degrees. When we turn towards the student well-being, this is the way Novato High wrote its goal, and I'm sure it's similar at all 3 sites. Which is to implement the multi-tiered systems of support to increase student success by identifying targeted students based on attendance, grades, and assessment data, while providing wraparound academic and social emotional supports throughout the day. So the lovely thing about MTSS is there's a lot of crossover. It's kind of a Venn diagram with those 3 circles. And for us, really targeting attendance and targeting the grades, like I said before, as they kind of go up and down during the year, is a way that we are very responsive to student needs as they come. We don't wait for failure. We actually try to set kids up for success. And the way we do that is with our awesome school counseling teams at all 3 sites, with PBIS, positive supports, and really communicating what it looks like to be a good citizen at each school site. Using restorative practices, and I'm really indebted and impressed with the way that we partner across school sites using our community specialists that Miss Early has helped make sure that has become a part of our overall support systems across all schools. Using Bay Area community resources, North Marin Community Services, using the North Bay Security, which again, we partner across because sometimes an issue or a challenge is not a school-based challenge, but it's a community-based challenge. And so having these resources across school sites allows us to handle it from a more holistic community perspective. And then lots and lots of supports and student check-ins, and we share our practices across sites. And then finally, highlighting Marin Oaks High School and the way that they talk about engagement of families and students. Establish a culture of caring, sense of belonging, and inclusivity by promoting meaningful, positive student and family engagement. We're all working on that all the time. Several structures to really make sure we're listening to students and using their feedback to kind of tweak our programs and serve their needs better. I am always so impressed by the way that Marin Oaks has really robust internships, and I know both San Marin and Novato High are trying to emulate some of the rich experiences that kids are having in the workplace. Student council and our leadership groups, extracurricular opportunities. Again, you'll see that kind of look at ways kids can develop their identity, purpose, and passion while they're in school, and that's things like MSA and STEM and athletics, leveraging our parent groups on site, including PTSA and our boosters, lots of assemblies and rallies to build that culture, and then just a constant look at building relationships with kids and families. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over. Sorry, I got all the good stuff the first time. I have a feeling.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Whitney McEachern, the principal at San Jose Middle School. I want to start with a quote that I read to my staff at our last staff meeting as we were reviewing some of the contents of the SIPSA. That really resonated with me. It says, "Community is much more than belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging matter." And I think as I look around the room and consider all of the stakeholders who are here tonight who helped me develop this SIPSA in collaboration with our ELAC, our PTA, school site council, staff, students. It really is about feeling that sense of belonging and doing something together that really feels like it matters. So with that, we'll start with goal 1. And across the middle school sites, we are pretty uniform on this one, establishing a culture of caring, sense of belonging, and inclusivity by promoting meaningful, oh no, that's the last one.
Maybe that one.
There we are. Goal 1. Provide rigorous, differentiated instruction with a multi-tiered system of support to meet the individual learning needs of each student that develops the skills outlined in the NUSD graduate profile. So starting with, as Michelle mentioned, CEL, Center for Educational Leadership. This has been incredibly impactful, not only for our assistant principal, Juliet Jones, and myself, I know across the middle schools, high schools, elementary schools, to be able to work together as site instructional leaders and develop our skill set in offering authentic, actionable feedback for our teachers has really helped us work together to understand what are the common threads that tie all of our schools together and how we're serving our students. Our instructional leadership team is continuing to grow and grow. I'm really excited that this next year we're going to have a really excellent, thorough, formal process for how we're identifying the teacher leaders who really want to rise to the occasion and partner with us on the important work of how we're best serving our students, so that we're really streamlining our purpose, finding a common unified vision for student learning. Students at the center of our campus. Our TOSAs are amazing. Our English learner specialists are amazing. They, at our site in particular, and I know it's the same at the other middle schools, they really work collaboratively to do a lot of progress monitoring. How are our rising 6th graders doing now that they've been at middle school for some time? How are our 8th graders doing as they're transitioning to high school? We have a fabulous platform called Elevation that we use, where we look at all of our students who have redesignated and go through every single one and collaboratively identify the interventions that we have in place to support them, check in with their gen ed teachers and see how they're doing. So we really have a strong team that's connected at the root of best serving students. A lot of student study team meetings, SSTs, cost, a team that meets to decide coordination of services for students. And we are looking at D and F lists. We're looking at Galileo scores. We're looking at different surveys and feedback that we're getting from the students about their wellness, finding a way to blend it all together and provide interventions and supports, not only tier 1 in the classroom, but then elevating that to tier 2 and tier 3 when it's needed. We have a lot of support for our English learners and students in special education, not only with our English learner specialists, but also we've really been building our robust IEP process, making sure that we're getting a lot of student and parent feedback throughout the IEPs so that they feel like they're really active participants in their IEPs. And also making sure that we're practicing as much inclusivity as possible so our students who have IEPs are able to dabble in other areas that might be their sense of belonging at school, whether it's visual and performing arts, sports, trying out technology, participating in a leadership project, so that we're especially focusing on our students who are considered LTELs, long-term English learners, and helping them understand what is beyond redesignation. Once they redesignate, how are they going to really grow their strengths in other areas? Something that's really exciting that's been happening at the middle school level is our work on proficiency-based education. It's been a long journey, and it's very, very exciting that we have 3 middle school leaders who are very aligned in hearing voices from all of the stakeholders involved, students, parents and guardians, teachers, and really digging into aligning what a proficiency-based education classroom looks like, right? What's going on in the classroom? Again, tier 1, what are our best teaching strategies? Share those teaching strategies, because what's working at an elementary school might work at a middle school, which might work at a high school, right? So really working together to figure out what's working for our kiddos and how do we share and build on that. Okay, goal number 2. I'm on the right one, right? Okay. Maintain and expand students' access to social emotional support, mental health resources, information related to substance abuse awareness and prevention, to foster a nurturing, inclusive, and safe learning environment for all students. Oh, this is the feel good stuff, right? Really making sure that our students feel that every day that they arrive at school, they feel seen, heard, respected, and included. The addition of a school counselor has been an absolute blessing on our sites. Having a robust counseling program is critical to student success. So that has been absolutely amazing. At San Jose in particular, and I know it might look a little bit different at the other sites, but somewhat similar. We have a counselor both in our main office and in our wellness hub at all times. So students can visit the hub in groups, take brain breaks. They can also go down to the office and have more of a one-on-one check-in with a counselor. So we really feel like we're covering our bases when student needs come up and when they feel like they need a wellness check or a brain break. Long gone are the days of plopping a syllabus down on a student's desk day one and saying, these are my grading expectations and these are the policies. We launch our year with community building activities and really getting to know what it means to be part of that campus, right? So at our site, what it means to be Scorpion Strong, what it means to be a Spartan, what it means to be a Hawk. Right? And so just making sure that students feel like first and foremost, they know why they belong and how they can belong. And then we get into the fun nitty gritty of the novels they're going to read and the math standards that we're going to cover. PBIS has been another huge area of growth across the middle school campuses. I think sometimes people think that elementary school kiddos are the only ones who like incentives and to earn things, but middle schoolers really do too. I think even high schools do. It feels good to be recognized for doing the right thing, for showing up every day and making a positive choice. So our efforts around PBIS have really supported our students' success and, again, sense of belonging on campus. It really builds that positive culture and climate across the school sites. Again, our wellness hubs and spaces are thriving, lots of support from student services here at the district office, and even some of our PTA folks have gotten involved and supported the hubs. Restorative practices is definitely something that is always an area of focus for us and an area for growth. It's really important that students have time to reflect, intentional time to reflect on the choices that they've made, and then have different ways that they can ensure that they're repairing some of the harm that might have been caused on the campus. There's not a one-size-fits-all for every single kiddo. And so it's important that we're really digging into the why behind student behavior and figuring out what we can do to help that student, again, repair the harm and move forward with their team. Second step has been really great to begin incorporating since its adoption, those social emotional lessons to support our students. TUPE, tobacco use prevention and education. We have student ambassadors who I know went to some of our elementary schools to do presentations on the harm of using tobacco. So it's really great to get that cross school collaboration. And then we continue to partner with our colleagues at North Bay Security, whether it's a home visit to check on a student to make sure that they are well and thriving and getting them to come to school, or just working with them to do some problem solving based on things that come up, and always striving to have a safe campus for all of our students and staff. And last but not least, we have our third goal, which is to improve a sense of belonging and school connectedness. Students will be provided with leadership opportunities, student voice on campus issues, and other community building experiences to foster a nurturing, inclusive, and safe learning environment for all students. Elevating student voice is a really important one. I really enjoy that we give a survey every year. It used to be Youth Truth, now the Thought Exchange survey. This year it's been really great to get student input on the dress code policy in particular. We have a lot of middle schoolers who just want to wear open-toed shoes, and they're letting their voice be heard. So to make sure that we're hearing from students about how they feel, and also providing some context and evidence for why policies are what they are, right? Sometimes I think kids feel like they're told this is the reason why, and that's just because, and to break it down for them to truly understand really helps them feel like they have a voice and they're being heard. Leadership courses, we all have leadership classes and student council. That group, that class oversees student clubs, so Club Rush, where kids get to throw out their ideas about a club that they might want to have on campus and get excited about high school where there are so many more club offerings. As I mentioned, a lot of community building lessons within the first couple of days of school. And I know this year in particular, at least a couple of our sites have been really intentional about announcements to students, whether it's daily, whether it's leading into a Monday, highlighting birthdays, having the announcements completed in Spanish. Maybe there was an excellent drama performance or a track and field meet, calling attention to the really great things that are happening in our community and highlighting those in the morning announcements so students feel heard and represented. Our attendance teams are still really focused on making sure that students feel connected to school and that they're attending regularly and feel engaged. It's been awesome to build our partnership with PTA and really grow an awareness about PTA's roles and responsibilities and how our ELAT can thrive and flourish. Lunch on the Lawn, staff appreciation, school fuel, lots of great partnerships with them. I know that BMX visited our sites this year to do some fun grade level assemblies. And last but not least, our community liaisons are really amazing. They strive to have voices be heard that might not ordinarily. At San Jose in particular, our community liaison got a school fuel grant and formed a multicultural club where students are taking field trips on the weekends and during the week to have experiences that they might not ordinarily get to have. So it's just really great to make sure we're bringing in all of our parents, guardians, and students so again, they feel represented and heard. Ms. Chima. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Chima. I'm principal at Loma Verde Elementary School. I was distracted. I was watching a baseball game on the phone. There might be a softball player that walks in here, so just don't be alarmed because, you know, in the spring, everything happens on the same day. I am here for the second year in a row to represent the land, sea, and air animals in the elementary school world. But honestly, I am very privileged and humbled to be here to represent a dedicated, creative, and knowledgeable and funny group of principals that I am blessed and privileged to work with and to learn from. Also sitting there, I think it could be really easy for me to say ditto to everything that Michelle shared and everything that Whitney shared because that's kind of the magic that's happening in the district right now is that we are aligning our practices and our systems and making sure that we're removing the mystery of success from our students' minds because they see the same thing consistently as they move from elementary school to middle school to high school, really removing that kind of figuring out every school environment that they enter. But you can see what our goal is, reinforce multi-tiered systems of academic support to maximize resources and ensure academic achievement and reduce the disparity among student groups. This year, we were really fortunate to work with the Center for Educational Leadership. It was great to be learners ourselves and dive into our own practices and do learning walks that helped us learn from each other and really do the work of education. We talk a lot about, this is a people business. We talk about our students, we talk about feelings, we talk about connections, and I'm going to talk about those things too, but there is a technical part of our job that we do where we look at data, we analyze, we create systems. And so I think this year and continuing into next year, our goals are going to be around deepening the systems, like having data cycle meetings, and then with the Center of Educational Learning, really focusing on that student experience to make sure that the students have joy and pride in their learning experiences. And how do we build all those systems throughout that constantly lead to that? And obviously, if they're learning, they're going to be joyful and they're going to have pride in that learning. And the more we work on our systems, one of the things I like to say is, I don't like to say it, someone else thought of it, someone smarter than me. There's, people talk about practice makes perfect, but that's not really what we're going for. We're going for practice makes permanent. And so the more systems we can practice as a staff, the more permanent they become and then don't go away with a change in people. There's papers, there's computer, there's a pen. Okay, I did it. Goal number 2 is when we're talking about academics, they want to have joy and pride in their academics, but we also want them to have joy and pride in who they are. I got very upset when Whitney said we want them to be seen, heard, and valued, because I was like, she took my line. We want them to get to know who they are as people, feel agency in who they are, and then look around them and feel like, okay, this is my school. This is where I become more of who I'm meant to be. Again, going back to deepening our systems, we had school-based counselors for the first time this year in elementary. And so that was a really good learning experience, and we're excited to kind of deepen that and expand that and really see what power can come with having that person on site for us. Let's see more of what they said. Goal number 3. So going back to the student experience, joy and pride. So if they're learning, they're feeling joyful and pride. If they're learning about who they are and they have agency, they have joy and pride. And then they need to have joy and pride in their school environment by being engaged, by seeing their family on campus, by seeing representations of themselves, so that they know that the schools are not a foreign place they go to and then go back home, that it is part of their community. I think Whitney referenced community. That's really the strength of each school site. And when you check out, Instagram late at night, as some people do, I don't, you see all the amazing community events happening at each of the elementary school sites. There was something at Rancho, there was something at Loma. I was watching baseball on Saturday at Olive, and there was something amazing happening at Olive, and it happens all throughout. And that's because those schools are part of students' lives, and we want to make sure that they feel like they belong and they're engaged and they're connected. And that's what's happening in elementary world, and no wonder we're all so tired. Thank you.
Okay, and again, we included, I know when you have gone through these SIPSAs, there could be some acronyms that might not have their complete names. So as you read through, if there's any, here's just a little acronym sheet for you. And with that, I thank you, and we're asking for the approval of the school site plans.
It's just a couple things. First off, before I was a trustee, I was on site councils a lot, and it was always really, really, really tough to get people to commit. I'm just anecdotally, how is that going these days? Are you guys getting better luck with getting representation, particularly from the parents in the community?
So I won't answer I'll answer from the meetings that I've attended. They actually have had really great turnouts at the school site council. So yes, we've been pleasantly surprised, because again, I too have experienced that, where you're like, come on, please, people, come join. And that hasn't been the case. So we've had a very active group of parents and students and teachers and classified members who have participated. So that's good news.
Good to hear. So fantastic. Please keep that up. It was always a challenge. I just remember pulling hair to get people to join. The other thing, and this is maybe just a matter of timing because we're relatively new in this, but the whole ELOP world, didn't really see any mention of that in any of the plans. But once again, I assume that's because we're ramping up in that world. And I would hope that next year we could really have some really good information about that, about the goals with the ELOP and all of its associated branches. One that everybody knows that I'm very close to on the middle school sports world, but there's so many others, and it's ELOP overall, I think, is just a fantastic opportunity.
Absolutely.
Just to
thank you for the feedback.
Take us beyond the school day and help parents cover that time when kids do dumb things.
Just a comment. As I read through all the plans, I kind of focused on the analysis section. I didn't read all the other stuff. I did read the first one and then I ignored the rest. But I focused on the analysis, and very well written. So thank you to each of you for taking the time to write that. It really shows what's worked, what hasn't, what you're going to do next year. That was my focus. I was really looking for data cycles, was my big thing last year. Are we consistent with those? It seems that we are. So please keep doing that. That's how we move the needle, I feel. for the most part. So keep that focus, and thank you. It's one of the things that I actually enjoy reading, because it ties into a little bit what Principal Chima was speaking to, the consistency across. So when I read it, I say, okay, this is what I've read in a weekly update. This is the board report I got. This is the site visit I went to. I saw those things that I am reading in the site plan. So it was consistent for me. So thank you.
Ditto to that. And I think someone talked about that it's your job is really technical, and we can see all of that in the plans, like all of the data cycles and how you're using all those pieces. And that's just exciting to see when we visit these sites, like how that's actually working. But you're all in one room, and I just think we have you just love your work and you love your kids, and it's so apparent. And like, I love that you use the word joy in these presentations, because you bring joy, and the joy that you all as a team emanate is like really exciting and inspiring. So I'm just really thrilled that this is our leadership and our staff. So thank you.
Can I just add to that? I love the way you guys work together. It's awesome. I mean, you guys are a team and putting out really good stuff. So I didn't want that to escape. You guys are working really well together. Appreciate that.
Other comments or questions, or a motion to approve? Okay, that was Trustee Mack with an approval with a first, and Trustee Butler with a second. All those in favor? 7 plus our 2 student trustees. Wonderful, thank you. And thank you all so much for your hard work.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to go backwards to item 11A. We're so happy to have Superintendent Smith bringing us this Superintendent Student Advisory Committee update.
I know.
All right, we're going to get started. We have 3 students here who are representing, I think there was 9 or 10 of us on our Superintendent Student Advisory Committee. It's not necessarily something we'll bring back every year unless you want to have it, but because it's our inaugural year, we really wanted to give you a sense of the work that we've been doing this year, and I really wanted to hear it straight from the students who participated and not my voice, but really all I did with the help of Ellen, which I can't do anything without Ellen, but she helped with all the principals, helped make sure our students came and organized this opportunity once a month, and they'll tell you all about it. All right, don't forget to introduce yourselves. Okay.
So, hi, my name is Isaac. I am part of the student committee, and right here are all of our wonderful students who participated. We have Deepti and Disha. Our meeting times very consistent, very regular. Let me take out my notes. As you can see, every month we had a meeting. Our special guests are very wonderful guests, very important. They gave us another level of inspiration for all of this. And as you can see here, these are our focus areas. We made a list on what subjects we should discuss on, and we voted for them, and these ended up being our 2 focus areas.
One thing that we noticed from both the high schools was that the wellness was being deeply stereotyped, and not a lot of people were hesitant to go to the wellness hub and everything. The top 3 bullet points focus on what we thought was like good in Novato High and what we want to continue. Some of the major things that we noticed in Novato that was really helping was their wellness videos that just expanded far beyond just like the mental health benefits, but all the resources that the Wellness Hub has. Also, their improved signage throughout the school. They have so much more like involvement and everything. And the peer-to-peer mindfulness ambassador training, we really love that, and we would like to continue that next year too and expand that in Novato High. And we also noticed that San Marin had slightly different needs and all. And we want to start by sending weekly emails about the Wellness Hub and all the activities that they host. We noticed that there's a lot of Wellness Hub activities in San Marin that a lot of people are not participating to, and we want to just promote it. We also want to tie into the like San Marin athlete culture. We know that San Marin's really high on sports, mainly football, I think. So we want to involve like the team coaches and like kind of give them a presentation and kind of ask them to talk to athletes about it and how like the wellness and the mindfulness can help them be better athletes as well. We also want to introduce special topics for the access period on Wednesdays. Including famous speakers, like athletes, pro athletes that benefit from mindfulness. And we also want to involve the parent PTA or the parent teacher association, because we noticed that the parents can really like make a big difference in their students' lives, and it's really important to have them involved.
Hi everyone, I'm Disha and I'm a senior at San Marin. I was so excited to be a part of the advisory committee on my last year of high school here. It was such an impactful community to be part of. I got to hear from so many perspectives, and I really hope we continue it for the following years. So our second main topic that we focused on had to do with substances, and we narrowed it down to vaping because this is one of the main things we see present on campus, visible to all of us. And so these were kind of the focus areas and action steps that we wanted to take to address the issue. For one, we want more of the wellness videos to be talking about the harm reduction when it comes to vaping and a lot of the education that TUPE can provide. Especially at San Marin, we see that that presence isn't really there, and we want to establish it more with these kinds of informational videos. And further, we really believe peer-to-peer support and peer-to-peer advice is not only research-backed, but has clearly been felt and seen by students to be one of the most impactful ways to deal with these issues and to help other students feel that they want to be helped. And so we want to incorporate more peer support into the current response protocol that exists. And so, for example, when a student gets caught with nicotine or vaping at school, we want to make sure students are incorporated and are an important part of the response protocol that happens afterwards, rather than it just being disciplinary actions from faculty. And we also think that it would also be important to strategically modify the bathrooms and kind of the use protocols that exist there. Some strategies we were thinking is kind of creating a no loitering zone, making sure that students are going in and out, doing their business and getting out, and not just standing around. And by doing this, we can mitigate the risk of students standing there vaping, or even having students maybe leave their backpacks outside of the bathroom to, again, kind of avoid this. Now, we also recognize that technology is a really big factor here, and we're not seeing much awareness on how to really report the drug sales that are going on, especially online, and this is so prevalent. And we noticed that not many adults actually knew about this. And so on a lot of social media, when students are able to get access to drugs so often, we actually see that students who are not even using drugs are seeing these accounts, are being added by them, or being requested by them online. But we don't know what to do about it. We don't think reporting them to Instagram really solves the issue. So we want to work more with the school resource officers and admin to maybe develop some sort of an actual viable reporting system to get this issue solved, to make an actual impact here and not let these accounts just go unnoticed, harming so many children in the process, especially as more and more kids get on these social media apps. And overall, we think it's really important to make sure our SROs have a very positive influence on campus, that students are seeing them as people there to protect them, to educate them, rather than just being scary officers there to punish them. And so we really want to incorporate them into our presentations. And we want to make parent involvement mandatory. Parents and the home environment is such a huge factor when it comes to substance use. And it's so crucial that as much as our peer and faculty are trying to support these causes, that our parents are directly involved and present, and that it's not just one parent on a Zoom meeting about the harms of nicotine. We need everybody on them. And further, I'd actually like to bring up, I'm on the Marin County Youth Commission working on the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drugs Subcommittee. And we're actually in the midst of working on a policy that I was able to bring to the advisory committee to make Narcan more available on campus. Right now, there's no policy protecting our schools from being liable for students to be able to easily access or even pick up Narcan on campuses. And we think this is a very low-hanging fruit that we can attack that will cause a phenomenal impact to reducing the risk of overdoses, as it continues to be the leading cause, one of the leading causes of death among youth in Marin.
So, as you can see, we did, well, the students did a lot of thinking throughout this committee, but our committee as a whole, we have all felt, even though, it's been a lot of, difficult and critical thinking, we have all felt that we all had our turn to speak out, never felt judged, which made us feel like we were in a safe space. And we all believe that we have created a long-term change. And also something very important that is very necessary was the snacks.
So for next year, we want to for the main idea, we want to continue having these meetings, because this year was basically about building a foundation and forming connections between like the existing members of the council. I know Disha is graduating next year, and we like are really gonna miss her. But like with the rest of us, we want to continue with this group because we're like aware and have built the connection. We also want to add more people. We want to have more representation of different people of different grade levels, because everyone has different needs, and we want to try to get to as much people's needs as possible. We also want to do more action steps and make more impact, because this year we were more about brainstorming and trying to figure out the issues. And next year we actually want to put all of this into execution, like directly connecting with like the principal, the wellness hub, or like sometimes maybe even the police for like vaping cases and everything. We also want, like I said before, current members to continue and just like add more members and kind of create an atmosphere where people can feel like safe and just like feel free to like express their opinions without the feeling of being judged. And this year we really saw that. Everyone was about to like speak to their fullest without like having being judged by anyone. At least I can speak for myself, knowing that I spoke what I like truly felt and without being judged. Thank you, and I hope we can really continue this next year. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up. I really appreciate your time. I think, having student trustee members sitting here with us, like the student voice is so important to the decisions that we make and understanding what your experience is like. This is really helpful information around things that we can be focusing on. So I know this takes time out of your day to come, but I really appreciate you, and please communicate to the rest of your team that we're so grateful.
Thank you.
I wanted to say I'm very impressed with where this went. Dr. Smith and I actually started working on this committee to really create the foundations, and I'm really excited and proud to see the impacts that you guys are starting to make and the conversations that you're having. And on account of that, I'm thinking also next year we can do more collaboration with other school districts to get the perspectives of other students and other locations. And then with what Deepti said about incorporating the student athletes, there's actually a 988 bag tag, which is for student athletes that relates wellness to suicide crisis line. So that's something that you guys could definitely get into. But yeah, thank you so much for everything you're doing.
I think this is great. I think one of the big things that I really like is that it's bringing all of the different schools together too, and you get an opportunity to hear what's going on at one site and the other, and working together to find solutions and focuses that you want to address. A couple of things that I'm on the Novato High School PTSA, and one of the things that you covered was also brought to the attention to the PTA about the bathrooms and stuff. So that's something that I was actually, we were talking about within our group. And so I think that that's something universal, and even down to the elementary school levels, it's a big thing. So thank you for mentioning that. And then I was trying to find, which is really funny, the high school that I don't know that I mentioned it was a high school, but the school that I referenced earlier tonight, they actually had this really cool like awareness thing. I know we have the Stop It at in the middle school, but that's more for bullying. They actually had a link when I was noodling around to a really cool thing that would for reporting this kind of stuff. And so I was trying to find it, but I'll share it with Dr. Smith if I do, because I was actually intrigued by it, because I thought it looked like a really cool program and maybe something we could look at implementing or something along those lines. So anyway, I think you're right on point with all these things, and I so appreciate the work that you guys did and the time commitment too.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the presentation and all the time you put in. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll now go on to item 12B. This is the approval of the 5-year deferred maintenance plan. We have JC and Joshua Brough presenting.
So we have the deferred maintenance plan spreadsheet. Sure. And then move that down real quick. And then deferred maintenance plan presentation. Here we go. From the beginning. Okay. Hello again, trustees. And I wanted to start this out by kind of letting you know what we're presenting today. So, and not a 5-year deferred maintenance. I know you all know what that is. The idea is that we're supposed to have one, and we haven't for a little while. And so one of my goals from my supervisor, Superintendent Smith here, was to get a 5-year deferred maintenance plan in. And when we went out looking for our new Director of Maintenance Operations and Transportation, the person that we hired brought a 5-year deferred maintenance plan with him to the interview. This guy. So he got the job. And so thank you for doing that. So it gave a lot of inspiration for what a deferred maintenance plan can look like. Because sometimes we get stuck in this mold and model that we're going to do the exact same thing. This is probably different than one that you had seen, if you remember the one that was, I think, like a 2019 5-year deferred maintenance plan. And the reason is that it's a living document. The 5-year plan that we have now, it's going to be live on the website. We put it on into the Gamut Assembly packet. But it will also have a link that's live on the website to sort of an edited version so that it's view only. But the one that we're going to show you is the actual working document tonight and give you a real quick sample of that. In your packet, this presentation is all about the methodology, went into it, and the facts of it. It is not the plan itself. As you probably realized when you went through it, it only had a couple pictures. Other than that, it doesn't actually tell you what the plan is. We're going to show you, and then, of course, later on, you can go look for yourself at what that plan is.
Okay, students, student members, trustees, Dr. Smith, thank you, Josh, for the introduction. I remember the deferred maintenance plan that I brought into the interview. It was a massive chart, and it had never been done before in sort of that manner. So it was a nice tool to use. So thanks for hiring me. So in terms of the methodology for putting this all together, I mean, it all started with my predecessor, with a very sort of comprehensive 5-year deferred maintenance plan, but the work really started on September 3rd, where a lot of work was done with, visiting all the school sites, all 14 of them, and spending countless hours with the administrative staff, as well as with the very knowledgeable maintenance and ground staff, and of course, having conversations with Josh. We also reviewed historical work orders. We have work orders in our new system, Facilitron, but also in its predecessor through School Dude.
JC, can I ask you to speak into the microphone just in case?
Years and years of things that were sitting on the sidelines needing to get done. So we had a rich history of sort of secondary research that was available to us. And then, of course, all we needed to do was sort of apply that framework and prioritizing everything, because there's just so much. And obviously looking through the lens of safety, compliance, life cycle risk and operational impact. And then, of course, we also scoped the cost together with Josh, using real vendor quotes in many cases, as well as through the help of conversations with Greystone, our partner, and phased the work by urgency and by budget.
So this looks at what the funding apportionment is. So the 5-year deferred maintenance plan, we do have a Fund 14, which is the deferred maintenance fund, but just FYI on that fund, it was set up around the time that the LCFF came about, and it was mandated that a certain percentage of money had to go into it. That was one time. It's never been mandated again since then. And so if we are to fund that, we have to put money out of Fund 01 into Fund 14. Fund 14 does not have its own monetary model for generating revenue. So what we've done instead is kind of talked about all the various funds that can apply to the idea of deferred maintenance. In other words, maintenance that we're not going to take care of today, but we're going to take care of in between 1 day and 5 years down the road. And the biggest one from that is the Measure G bond, which is $4.3 million. Then we also have Fund 35, which is money generated by Fund 22, the Measure G bond. We call it a lot of times the reimbursement funds. That's state funds. The Fund 01 and Resource 8150, specifically Resource 8150 and Fund 01, that is the restricted maintenance. We are required by the state, and by the fact that we have a bond, and by the fact that we get Fund 35 money. So in 3 different areas, we're required to put 3% of all expenses have to hit that line. So there's clearly money in there every single year that we want to make sure we allocate correctly over the next 5 years. Fund 25 is the Capital Facilities Fund. That's the money that we collect for impact fees. And then Fund 01 Resource 0030 is our facilities use money. So that's from rentals. This also is coming to you with sort of a new bond priority list. So we're getting them all to work together. All of our facilities is becoming one. And the reason is because I didn't want to come to you and say, hey, we're going to use $4 million of bond to do these things. And you just say, wait a second, we already allocated all the money. Well, there's been some changes. And one of the big changes is that the San Marin parking lot came in at a lot more money for a lot less spots. Unfortunately, we're going to find some other options of what we're going to do, but we're canceling the San Marin parking lot project as it currently stands. We have some other options to do with things that are on the campus currently and will not have a cost anywhere near that. We also have the ones in yellow are projects from the 5-year deferred maintenance plan. So we're looking at the San Ramon fire alarm being added onto the Novato High School fire alarm. The kiln room projects, the dirt mound at Novato High School, Sinaloa switchgear, same sort of thing that's going on with the Novato High School switchgear, the mini gym at San Marin, and the Novato High School breezeway roofing. The fun thing about this, if you look at the numbers down below, is you see on that contribution from Fund 37 is actually less money. So in other words, canceling the San Marin parking lot project, the interest that we've received from bond and the amount of savings that we've had by staying under budget in the projects that we have completed has led us to actually have more bond money to allocate, and therefore we're actually utilizing less of our reimbursement money than we were before. So fantastic outcome for the bond project. Apportionment of plan expenditures, of course, with the high schools being the largest campuses, they have the most amount of buildings and therefore a lot of deferred maintenance. Middle school second, elementary schools, then the DO and other. And then by trade, here's to let you look at what the projects are broken out by their big categories. Of course, with the San Marin Mini Gym and the Novato High School breezeway, roofing and gutters is the number one thing that we're looking at for the long term. And at this point, we want to break away and show you an example of what this deferred maintenance spreadsheet looks like.
Okay, so you want me to get into deferred plan?
Yeah. So basically in this plan, what we can do is we can say, hey, you know, I want to see what we have going on at the middle school level over the next 3 to 5 years. And so we can pull up the middle school and we can look over here, and short term is listed as 1 to 2 years. Medium term is 3 to 5 years. And then long term, as we said, this is a living document. So we're still documenting the things that are long term. We just know that they're not going to be needed in the next 5 years. But we want to have a place where all these things live so we don't forget about them. Or so that if JC or I aren't the one having the conversation, other people know what's coming up. Why don't we look then what are we doing at Olive? What are we doing at Olive?
3. Well, we don't have anything in that category for Olive.
That's because it's middle school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just go back and just play around with the filters.
And then so just by the way that it's set up now, that means that if we're having any conversations about budgeting for different sites, for different timelines, we can keep all of this stuff active. And we have it broken down into the categories: deferred maintenance, bond, whatever it may be. The level, elementary, middle, district office, other, and other includes like our maintenance and operations yard, our fans and transportation, etc. Then we also have it broken down into the item, which is the categories: doors, roof, gutters. And then we have, details in there when there's things that we need to know. If it's pretty obvious, then we know. And then we have the amount. And then there's a couple things in here that we even have question marks because we're looking at grant funding for it. So we don't have a price yet, one of them being solar. So like our solar, we have that put in here, but we don't know how much it's going to cost yet because we're looking at grant funding before we even start the project. And then JC is now going to get into more of like the methodology and the outcome from all the work.
Okay, so we have some images, and I'm just going to speak to some high-level points. So this is an example of a short-term project that we have, a deferred maintenance project that we have at San Marin High School. It's the mini gym that's been around for more than 25 years. It is in a pretty bad state at the moment. Due to the roof specifically, as well as the siding and all the windows. So this is a pretty high use zone for San Marin High School. It houses a lot of students on a daily basis. It also has a lot of activities happening there, as well as sporting events and practices. And during the November-December rain, if you all recall the amount of rain that we had, we needed to close that down for safety concerns. So working together with Greystone and Josh, we had a structural engineer come out in February of this year to assess the San Marin mini gym. And it's obviously a massive, massive project. And it's not something my team can patch. The roof has been patched over the years plenty of times, but it's got into a state where it really needs to be a like-for-like replacement. You can see the ceiling tiles, the siding. The roof is in a pretty bad state, and then of course the energy efficiency is not great in that room as well because we have single pane windows from the 80s. So that's definitely high on our list as a short term, 1 to 2 years. And I guess once we actually, if this is obviously approved, once we start demoing this, we'll probably find some structural integrity issues inside of the siding as well. So Greystone have a conceptual quote for us at this moment, and this has taken up most of that high school budget that you saw in Josh's numbers. This is just over a million. I think it's $1.1 million. So that's just an example of the mini gym. Okay. Okay. So the plan overview. Basically, this is just a plan that shifts in USD from reactive repairs to proactive planning, being the deferred maintenance plan. The mini gym here is just a key example. If we move on to the next example, this is San Marin High School, the bleachers. And this basically is addressing the deteriorating bleachers. Apparently 10 years ago, the walking surface was the wrong material was used for the surface. So we again had a vendor come in, assess the situation, and we have a quote. It's approximately $138,000 for the home side, and then there's also some ADA requirements for the visitor side. This is just a slide showing you that 11 of our 14 schools were built before 1970. So even though a lot of the schools have gone through modernization processes and projects, it's important to make sure that we maintain those, as well as address things that have been around for a long time. Yes. Here's another interesting example at Novato High School. This is the Dirt Mound, or the Dirt Mound project. So about almost 6,000 square cubic yards of dirt left over from previous projects on site. This is causing a bit of a safety issue with certain activities happening all around the dirt mound. We have put in some safety measures, putting signage in there, but we'd love to either remove the dirt and take it to another site, or spread that dirt out, or offer the dirt to our community members for free. But we're looking at a cost there of like $300,000 to remove it. We are awaiting a quote to actually spread it out a little bit, depending on the topography. This is slide 12. So this is basically just eligible project types. So deferred maintenance focuses on the repair and replacement of existing infrastructures, not new construction. These components are either at or nearing the end of their life cycle and delaying action, risks failure, and safety hazards. I won't get into too much of this. Another example, and this is Novato High School. Josh spoke about the breezeways. So we have a painting and project happening there during the summer. But if you've ever walked the site at Novato High School on a rainy day, you'll probably get more wet under these breezeways than you would walking beside them. So this is a fairly large project, replacing the roofs of the breezeways. I think it's around about 1.3 million is what we've received a concept estimate for, and then also highlighting the leak that we have in the cafeteria. So ineligible components. So you might want to think, well, what is ineligible for deferred maintenance projects? But these are deferred maintenance funds that cannot be used for new construction, playgrounds, furnishings, or landscaping. And these funds must be funded through bond or, as Josh mentioned, general funds. This is just another example of a project that we have at Loma Verde, a community project that we've been partnering with the Rotary Club as well as teachers on the campus. I can't remember the name, Girls on the Run, I believe. Yeah. So we have a small amount there. It's not only big amounts, but this is a small amount. I think we have about $5,000 there to ensure that all the water runoff from the pipes from the above neighborhood that's sort of washing away that dirt track that's been there for ages, and it's very special to the community and the students there. We already started this project late last year, but we'd like to build onto a phase 2 and address some funds there to ensure that the track stays and that the water goes towards the creek. How much time we got? Okay. Maintenance categories overview. Basically just highlighting here, there are 3 types of maintenance. There's routine, reactive, preventative, that we've done a really good job at this school year, and then of course deferred. And this plan focuses on deferred work that requires significant planning and funding. which is different to the things that we do on a daily basis. Another big project at Rancho, these are the roof drains. So every single winter, the maintenance and grounds team have been out there with handheld pumps, pumping the water off the roof, because the roof has just been collecting waters in puddles, and that's obviously a major safety risk. So together with, working together with Greystone, we plan to implement roof drains, a simple fix to a pretty large problem. Although it is almost, $500,000. General maintenance overview, where am I? In-house maintenance covers emergency response, minor repairs, energy system oversights, and custodial infrastructure needs. That is the work that my team, the maintenance and operations team, are responsible for. And then obviously all of this is essential to the daily school operations. The last example I have for you is Olive, our elementary school, where we've had a drain issue for many, many years. That water is slowly, during rainy seasons, encroaching on that library. So we'd love to spend a fairly substantial amount of money on clearing out those old drains that lead sewer lines. To save the library, to save a lot of wet patches that the grounds team are out there every single rainy season clearing up. And then the last slide, outside contractors. So we obviously we rely on outside vendors or outside contractors to do the specialist work, like fire systems, roofing, the big roofing projects, refrigeration, gym equipment, and hazard materials. The rest, the maintenance and operations team of Novato Unified School District take care of. Sorry, I went through that pretty quickly. So, any questions?
Well, I just want to make sure no one else had questions before I start diving in like I always do. Good stuff. Thank you. I can only imagine how many questions and history stories would be coming up if Ross are still here. But this is his dream project, and I 100% support it. This has been a black hole for us for too long. We've been just basically playing catch up every single time something goes wrong. Where are we going to find the money? Having an actual plan and approach, having it be visible, transparent, and living is huge. And I can not emphasize enough how important that part is, because we need to show the community that this is something we're doing, not just now, but in the future and always. And it's a living document. To that end, I would ask on the spreadsheet, having that as the living document is perfect. How will you transition a project that is now complete? Does it just disappear off that sheet? Does it go to a completed projects tab? Something, kind of mapping all that so people, because we got these grumpy people out there sometimes, right? They're gonna say, "What have they done?" And
I would love to keep that. Needs maintenance. Put in a work order. Yeah, Greg. So I would love to keep it for historical purposes. Starting this role and trying to, back in September, trying to find decisions that have been made, projects that have been worked on. Yes, we have Plan Grid.
yeah, because we can't always call Ross.
No. And so just, having a special tab, whatever system we use, just to have that historical information would be paramount for whoever succeeds, this position in the future. Absolutely.
And I'd like to add too, we added Facilitron Works as our work order system. So before we were using School Dude. And the Facilitron Works work order system not only includes the fit reports that we're doing at each one of our sites, we're able to log all of the documentation for what we're doing. So not only is it a work order system, it's also a custodial work order system, it's also a fit report system, and it can also be a deferred maintenance system, keeping all of our maintenance records all in one place and easy to access for perpetuity.
And here's the minor nit. Loma Verde wasn't built in 71. It was probably 64 or 63. I was going there in 65, 66. So
what did I have there?
71.
There's a few.
The other ones looked okay. That's about right. No?
Oh, dear. Apologies.
Oh, does it? Well, because the new.
Yeah. Yeah, actual Hamilton's from like 48 or something.
Where is it?
It's near the front.
Oh, let's just go here.
Almost there. Hamilton was, yeah, Hamilton.
You're gonna have to go through that stack of plans you've got.
Yeah.
Goodness
That
gracious.
was- you know, that was
I'm
just
wondering
for
if that was the latest work that was done.
I think it might be, yeah.
We wanted to see who the new Ross was, so there you go, Greg.
It's Greg.
It's Greg.
I wanted to say a special thank you for making sure that those small things that maybe aren't a big concern structurally or financially, but are a huge concern to our communities, are being treated with the same level of respect and care and partnership. So thank you so much for doing that. It means so much to our communities, so thank you. Okay, Debbie, trustee Butler's.
Yeah.
You call me. Where are you?
Just when we approve this, the deferred maintenance, if we approve it, are we approving these projects, these new projects? Is that all encompassing or?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. I think we
the
need
total
to
bud-
specify that.
The total budget that we are putting forward to you on
6.7.
page, what was that? Page 3 of 6.7 million would be the total cost of all of these projects that we currently have lined up for the next 5 years.
Oh.
So we have a couple options here. We can approve this as presented. We can take time to look at it further and put it on a future agenda, probably our next meeting. And if there's specifics that we would like to see in order to do that, we can. But those are our two roads in front of us right now.
And does that deplete the Fund 22 funds?
We had already set it up to deplete the Fund 22. That's why it says the, on the
Remaining
left-hand side, it says that it was 8.7 million coming from Fund 37, which is the reimbursement money.
Oh, that's
And now
right.
it's 7.5, so we're actually using less money. So these new projects are less money than what was originally approved.
Trustee Alexander had a question in the meantime.
Yeah, could you just review for me in between slide 3, the total funding estimate of the 6.7 and the bond priority list as of May 2025 and those contributions? There's a, what's the difference between the total of the 30.5 broken through those funds and getting to something we would approve that would be a 6.77? Am I making sense?
Yeah, so the 6.77 is including funds that aren't bond. So the only bond fund is Fund 22. And that Fund 22 is $4.393 million. Fund 35, which is the reimbursement fund, sometimes we loop those together. One of them is truly Measure G, that's Fund 22. Fund 35 is reimbursement money that is created by utilizing the bond funds. So we link them together sort of intrinsically. That's $1.2 million. When we come over here, we're on this page. Before you were a trustee, actually, the one on the left in October was approved by the board as our priority list. That's why I'm putting that in there for context. As it moves over to the right-hand side, that is what we're proposing as, hey, we're adding these items in there that are appropriately funded by the bond, but we are still being fiscally responsible as there's still plenty of money to afford these projects. So why is it now 30.585 million? Well, that's because 4.393 was added from the 27, but then 2.5 was removed.
Okay, so then one follow-up question. Thank you for that. The 30.58, that's there. If you go to the next slide for the apportionment,
Yes.
this is representative of that 30 million?
No, this is only talking about the $4.3 million. This is, because right on this one here, all of those blue projects on the left-hand side are already approved.
Okay.
Now, when we look on the right side, those blue projects are those same blue projects. The only ones that we added were the yellow, we removed the red.
Okay, so it would be helpful if on this next slide with the pie chart,
Sure.
we had a corresponding dollar amount.
Yeah,
'Cause I
this is yes, I understand this. This is the bond priority list. This is the 5-year deferred maintenance plan.
Thank you.
So this right here is the 5-year deferred maintenance plan.
Thank you.
Numbers 4.3.
Yeah. Well, I think they're okay now.
Sorry, I took I'm cheating off of Trustee Butler's. So I feel like there's two things going on then. We're mixing. We're reapproving the bond priority list. Not so much, even though this isn't a deferred maintenance. So we're not approving. What are we approving or supposed to approve?
What that does, though, if you do approve this, this is the effect it will have on the bond. So this is what you're approving. We are asking for approval for $6.77 million in funding, 4.3 of which is bond, 1.2 is 35, $1 million is 8150, so on and so forth.
And then the next slide is how it'll be used.
This is an example. Yes, this is because the bond I felt was important to break out separately and make sure you understood that if I'm asking you for $4 million more in bond funds, and we had already talked about that we had spent all the bond funds, where in the world am I getting $4 million in bond funds? This is how. So I wanted to make sure that you saw that full picture.
You know, I get that, but though technically we're approving that amount, but then we're also approving your list with these new items, so that to me it's kind of two things.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing, it's the amount of money and how it's being used. Would you like more time to go over this before we approve it?
No, I don't. We need clarity. I think it came to us and a little bit unclear, so that's.
I think part of
Maybe it was clear for you, Josh, but it wasn't for.
No, I understand, because normally like you get this thing that just walks through and we take money and we transfer it into Fund 14 and that's where it lives.
Yeah.
But we don't have enough Fund 01 money to do that. So if we were to try to do that, we basically would get nothing done. So we have to utilize our other facilities funds, which makes the deferred maintenance plan. I want us to think about it as like, this is what we're doing with our facilities to keep them up to date. It will utilize bond money when appropriate. It will utilize facilities money when appropriate, etc. But the plan is how we're going to keep our facilities up to a good standard versus something like the bond plan, which is how am I going to spend the bond money? Those two things do touch each other in this plan.
Yeah.
There's a bigger picture being presented as well as some minutia.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Are all the highlighted yellow on the right-hand side, are those all inside the spreadsheet?
Yes. There's nothing new that we're adding here outside of the spreadsheet.
So when you approve the spreadsheet of projects for the 6.677 million, you are approving the adjusted priority bond list, the yellow projects.
Okay.
Hopefully last
I don't think that helps.
question. Slide 5.
So we're saying, do we approve the right?
Slide 5. Oh, no, one more. Do all of those sum up to the 677? I was going to start adding
Yes.
it up. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. All right. So now I can see the 677. This is how it's being broken out. As well, you're showing by site in the slide before. To Chandra's question. Okay, got it. Okay. So really, it's a 677. And yeah, I'm going to ignore the bond thing for now, just so it doesn't throw me off. But I get it. Okay.
But we're approving those projects
Because they're part of it. Yeah.
So we have two options right now. If anyone would like to make a motion to approve the dollar amount on slide 3, if you'd go there, please, which is $6,777,597, which will be utilized in the ways outlined. Or we can come back with more information at another meeting to do that same thing.
One last question. The 6,777 spent over the next year?
5 years.
5 years, okay.
That's the total cost of the 5-year plan.
Spread over, okay. All right.
I will approve that fund of money, which will be used for these projects. I feel like the reason it's hard in my head is usually we see the project and we're like, this is the pot of money that is used for that. But I see that you're explaining the pots of money and in the larger context of how we're going to be using things over the 5 years. I'm with you. I would like to make a motion to approve.
Great, we have a first by trustee Pickus and a second by trustee Mack. All those in favor? 7 and 2 student trustees. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for all of your work.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for the bigger picture while we're getting to the smaller things.
There will be less bond stuff next time. Just because we're out of money.
Our next item is 12C. This is brought to us by Derek
yes.
Nell, the Director of Staff Housing Development. This is approval of resolution number 29, 2024-2025, supporting California School Board Association sponsored education workforce housing legislation.
Okay. All right. Good evening, trustees. Dr. Smith, student trustees. I'm here tonight to ask for your support for the CSBA-sponsored education workforce housing legislation that's currently moving through Sacramento, CSBA being the California School Board Association. And just to let you know why supporting education workforce housing legislation matters. If we are to develop workforce housing, we would help us address our staff turnover and our educator shortages. Cuts down on barriers for recruitment and retention. Obviously, it helps people, our employees, against the high cost of living. And it also uses our surplus properties as a strategic asset. And again, it streamlines, this legislation would streamline the tools for getting these projects funded and started. So the first bill is AB 1021, and what AB 1021 builds on a previous legislation passed in 23, which is 22, oh, it was 22 was passed, so it was 2295. What this does basically is it expands the school site eligibility for housing. 2295 was written in a way that had some limitations about adjacent to certain kinds of property and other some limitations. This clears up some of that and makes more property possible for for education workforce housing. It expands the density standards for developments on school properties, as well as extends a CEQA exemption for infill property, and all of our properties would fall in the category as infill here. So streamline the CEQA exemption process, and it also clarifies some of the legal and financial provisions of the original 2295. This bill is obviously supported by CSBA, and it's been through committee and waiting for a full consideration in the Assembly. The second bill is 1381. What this bill is proposing to do is establish a $10 million annual revolving no-interest loan fund for LEAs. They could borrow the money for pre-development costs and preliminary expiration expenses to do feasibility studies, etc. The funding would be managed by the Office of State Treasurer, and one of the primary functions of this bill would be that the funding would be made available, but it would have to go through an education-led panel review that would be looking for to protect the LEAs from misusing the funds, or for I guess to satisfy the interests of outside developers or political interests. So it's a strong, if it were passed, it would be a strong asset and protections for school districts as they move forward. And then just basically just to let you know, CSBA is requesting the resolutions during the active legislative committee markup period, which is going on right now, and that we recommend that you pass resolution 29. Questions?
Heck yes. So, but just quick question, 1021, if it goes through, and I don't need detail, but your general take on how much it might accelerate our process.
Well, it'll certainly expand the amount of options that we would have on the properties under consideration, and when we bring the actual development plans and options starting in August, after we get the waiver results of our waiver application in the middle of July. This bill if it passes, will definitely give us more flexibility and options on our
So
properties.
it's really more a flexibility play, not necessarily, because I just see the CEQA exemption in, those are the words that just are flashing red at me. Does that speed up our process at all or no?
It would definitely speed up the process. That CEQA exemption, there's a whole list of qualifications and requirements that you have to fulfill in order to get that exemption. And preliminary review would be, this would be a very good thing for us if it were to pass.
So I'll move to approve.
We have a public comment, so before we have a first and second, we'll take that. Zachary Griggy, please join us at the middle the middle microphone. 3 minutes.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt your motion, Trustee Mack. I'm Zach Griggy, resident of Novato, Trustee Area 1. Just wanted to take the time post-law school, or post-first year of law school, to add my support for endorsing these bills. I think it's important that education workforce housing move forward. I'm excited to see all the progress that's being made here at NUSD as a leader in the state on workforce housing for our staff and our teachers. And I'm excited to see these bills move forward, hopefully with the board's support, and our projects get off the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Zach.
Fan favorite Zach.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have a question first. Trustee Alexander?
I was going to second.
Okay, so we have a first by Trustee Mack. We have a second by Trustee Alexander. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Trustee Butler?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson? Aye. Trustee Lametta?
Aye.
Trustee Mack?
Aye.
Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you
Please
very much.
send
Thank you, Zach, for
whatever-
pointing out that we're leading on this legislation.
We have some applicable letters to legislators after this is passed that he will be sending out, and we will be able to have this as the support. Okay. Next, we have Joshua Braffback with Resolution 30, 2024-2025, declaring that volunteers shall be deemed employees for the purpose of workers' comp benefits.
Yes, this one's a pretty straightforward resolution. This is a liability-based resolution in multiple different places in legal code. It does say that we can, if a board takes a resolution vote to consider volunteers employees for the purposes of workers' compensation only, then that can be done through our workers' compensation insurance. As a practice, we've already been, it happens very, very rarely, but when it has happened in the past, we have taken that route, which then made us look back at, hey, we've never actually passed a resolution to be able to do this. So let's right that wrong and make sure that we have it going forward in perpetuity. This does not, of course, mean any sort of compensation or anything like that. And because we've already been doing it, it actually has no changes to our fiscal impact. It would have a fiscal impact, though, if we were to take on the liability as a volunteer going through our general liability insurance rather than our workers' compensation insurance. So with that, I would ask for any questions and approval of this resolution.
Questions or a motion? Trustee Pickus moves, thank you. And a second by Trustee Butler. Roll call vote. Trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Trustee Butler?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson? Aye. Trustee Lametta?
Aye.
Trustee Mack?
Aye.
Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Smith presenting Resolution 31 through 34, 2024, 2025, authorizations to sign on behalf of Governing Board 25-26 year.
All right, we are all, the four of us are so special that we get our own resolution, basically authorizing each of us in certain circumstances to sign on behalf of the board. And so this comes annually, and we request your approval.
Any questions to start with?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, so we have 4 of these that have to be done separately with a first and second and a roll call, just so we're all prepared. So I have Trustee Mack for 12EA, second by Trustee Pickus. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. Next one, 13EB. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
Trustee Butler, thank you. And a second by Trustee Pickus. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have 12EC. A motion by Trustee Alexander, thank you. Seconded by Trustee Butler, thank you. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have 12ED. May I have a motion? Trustee Pickus. Seconded by Trustee Butler. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 12F. One moment, please. Okay, I also need all of your signatures this evening, so do not leave. Thank you. 12F, we have John back after much time away from us with item 35, 2024-2025, the total base rent in leaseback contract with Wright Contract LLC for HVAC and roof replacement project at Sinaloa Middle School.
Thank you. We finally did get DSA approval, so we're coming back tonight with a request to approve the resolution. We are within budget for this project.
Yay. Questions, comments?
I was just
There's
saying,
no
we
visual?
haven't seen you forever. I was like, okay, what's next?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come with a
Okay.
presentation next time. Yeah.
We have a first by Trustee Mack and a second by Trustee Alexander. Oops, I did your initials backwards. Sorry. This is also a roll call vote, friends. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
G, Francesca Whitcomb. This is review and approve board policy in the 4,000 personnel series, first reading.
All right, good evening, board members, superintendent, student trustees. These are new board policies to our district. They would apply to certificated, to classified, and to administrators. There's basically the same policy, but for all three of those groups. I do want to note while we have not had this policy, we have other board policies around student safety and child abuse reporting and other things kind of woven throughout these, but these are very specific. And I think it's long overdue for us in a school district to have something of this nature as a protector for our students, our most vulnerable people. And I don't think I need to read the cover. I think you guys saw that. But are there any questions?
Thank you. I actually have two questions.
Okay.
And the first is I noticed it says, you might have addressed it, the employee code of conduct is, it's down, it's under the third blue box. It says the district's employee code of conduct addressing interactions with students shall be provided to parents, guardians at the beginning of each school year and posted. How are we distributing that? Does that go out like with the, when we do the return to school kit?
Yeah.
stuff?
I had not formally checked in with Leslie yet, but typically this document is the code of conduct, and it would get included in that back to school packet for parents. It also mentions in here somewhere, like it's one of the items that we would have to post prominently,
Yeah.
like on our bulletin boards and things at all of our school buildings as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question was on, I don't know why I asked strict number 5, creating or participating in school networking sites for communication with students. Element number 5, I think of my own children involved in different activities that are related to the school, the San Marin musical stuff. Like there's a group chat, or there's chat and all those kind. So I think we just, when we're looking at that, I understand the intent behind it, but I think it gets a little tricky because they all want to be able to communicate, or they have, like, there was a family Facebook page where it wasn't really necessarily the school's thing, but I don't know. I saw that and I thought we probably need to kind of look and define what that is, or how we're going to implement that.
Yes, I imagine there's going to be several processes that we're going to have to define from this code of conduct, and yes, that one's going to be one of them.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I like it. I liked as a parent to be able to go and sign up and stuff for that, but all the kids were in it too, to say, hey, the practice is this day or whatever. And I'm sure sports probably has the same thing. And then just a general question. I know you probably were not anticipating any questions about this, but I was not able to get to everything until today. What raised a question in my mind, and through the job that I'm in now, we're required to have a SAM policy to work with students. Are you familiar with SAM, sexual abuse and molestation insurance policies?
Oh, I think.
And I didn't know if that was something that
Josh. The SAM policy, the sexual abuse and molestation, that just came up in another context. She was asking a question about us having that.
I can talk to you later. I just was curious because we're required to actually have that insurance.
Yeah, we do have that, and it was one of our more recent surprises.
Didn't think of it in that context. You're talking about self-insurance. So the sexual abuse and molestation.
So for people that are interacting with us, I guess so. It's not our insurance, but we would request it from people interacting with their kids, right?
Yeah, as part of our policy, any organizations that we're working with, they have to go through the background check, fingerprinting, all that kind of stuff, and then they have to have liability insurance that's going to cover those types of things if they're interacting with our students.
Okay, I'll talk to you off.
Yeah, when I say self-insurance too, what I'm talking about there, it's a self is an acronym, not self as in our own insurance, but self is an acronym, and that was something else that's coming up that's in the same vein and context.
Okay, I think we're talking separate, so I'll just ask about it later.
Okay, sure.
But thank you. Okay, so cool. I'm good or did somebody else have a?
Yeah, I have a quick question. The code of conduct policy, is that something that parents sign electronically at the beginning of each year?
For students, this,
yeah.
I think that they don't really sign a code of conduct. Go ahead.
There is the annual parent guide that they have access to, and they do have to sign acknowledging it annually.
Okay, thank you.
I'm wondering, how are we going to communicate these guidelines to our staff?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We have begun to design, or actually create, our first staff handbook, and we have more specific guidelines that would be built from here that we have from another organization. So we will be providing that through staff handbook and training.
Just on that, a lot of this, it's not new, right? A lot of this stuff is in the mandated reporting that we've all taken and all district employees take. So, this is not introducing anything new. It's just putting it in one place. I think it's interesting that it's not already in one place, but so a lot of this training is already happening for our staff.
Exactly. Majority of districts have boundary policies such as this, and we found that we were lacking one, so we wanted to add it.
Okay, so we're asking for approval, and this will come back in second reading in the future meeting in consent.
Exactly.
Trustee Gasson, thank you, and a second by Trustee Pickus. All in favor? 7 plus our 2 students, thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is the end of this evening's agenda. Our next regular meeting will be held on June 10th. We have 2 student special meetings, in the interim, May 27th and June 3rd. Thank you.